Hello everyone. In today's video, we will see how to multiply all numbers of list. For example, let's say we have one list, my list, with following numbers, and in output we want to find out the total value after multiplication of all the values. For example, 4 into 2 into 3 into 5, that is 120, 120. So our output should be 120 if the elements are 4, 2, 3 and 5. So we want to find out the output as multiplication of all the values present in the list. Now let's see programmatically how we can do that. So I am going to PyCharm. Let's create new Python file. I am naming it as multiplication all elements in list dot python file. So we have created the Python file, and in this we are going to use my list. So this is our my list, and we want to find out output, which is the multiplication of all the values present in that list. So we should print total of all values after multiplication is 120. So that should be our output. So in the first approach, we will use for loop traversing. So by using for loop, how we can do that? So we have my list, right? After that, I will define one variable, that is total, which will be initially having value as 1, right? And after that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use one for loop for I in, so for I in my list. So what it will do, so this statement will one by one fetch the element from my list. So first it will fetch 4 and that will be stored in I. Next iteration it will store 2 in the I. After that it will fetch 3 and that will be stored in I. After that it will fetch 5 and that will be stored in I. So one by one it will store every element of that my list in each iteration until it comes to the last element. So in the first, after this first statement, what we will do, we will simply use total equals to total multiplied by I. So what we are doing here, so one by one, every time the I will come, so initially the total value will be 1, right? So we have defined total value equals to 1. So for the first iteration, it will multiply total value, that is 1, into I. So I will be 4 in first iteration. So it will store the value of 4 into 1, that is 4 into total. So total now will become 4 now, right? So total value in the after first iteration, the total value will become 4, right? After that, in the next iteration, what it will do, it will fetch the second value, that is 2, and that will be stored in I, right? And in the next statement, it will multiply the total into I. So 2, I is 2 now, and total is 4. So 4 into 2, 8. So it will store the total value as 8. In the next iteration, it will fetch 3, right? And in the similarly, it will multiply 8 into 3. So that will become 24. And in the next iteration, it will fetch the last value, that is 5. And that will multiply the 24 into total into I. That is I is 5 and total is 24. So 24 into 5. So that will store 120 as total. And after that, there is no other value. So iteration will end here. And after that, we will come out of this loop. So we will come out of this for loop and we can simply print. We can simply print total of. So I will just simply use this statement, total of all value elements after multiplication is comma, and let's use total. So it will print. Let's execute this program. So let's execute. So after execution, we can see here the output, total of all values after multiplication is 120. So it multiplied all the elements one by one and stored in total by using this for loop iterations, right? So this is the first approach. Now we can do one more thing. So let's say I'm going to add one more thing, one more value in it. So it will multiply again up to all the values up to last 5, right? So let's run this program one more time. So when we run this program, now it will print 600, because if you multiply all the values, then the final total value is 600. So this is the first approach. Now I am going to use another approach. So I am going to comment this code. The next approach is by using numpy method. So numpy package have prod methods. So we will simply use numpy.prod method. So for that we have to import numpy package. We have to install numpy package in Python. I have already installed in my system, so I am not going to again install the numpy package in my project, right? So we have to install numpy project first in our project, numpy package in our project, and then we have to simply first import numpy. I have already installed numpy package in my project, that's why I don't have to do it again. But if you haven't installed it, then you have to first import, or if you have to first install that numpy package in your project, and after that we have to simply import it, import numpy. And after that what I will do, I will simply use numpy dot numpy package has lots of methods which are normally perform in numbers, right? So it has one method, that is prod. So this method we have to pass in this numpy.prod method, we have to pass my list. So when we pass my list, it will, so this method will print, this method will multiply all the elements of my list, right? Before that we haven't defined the my list, so I'm just again defining our my list. So I'm simply, after importing, we have to define my list, right? So after defining the my list, we can simply use numpy.prod, and then we have to pass my list, and this statement or this method will automatically fetch, automatically multiply all the values of the my list, and we have to store that value, right? So I'm just going to store that value, total equals to numpy.prod mylist. So total will have the value which is multiplication of all these elements. Now after that we can simply print the same statement, that is print. We can again print total of all values after multiplication is total. So total will be having production or multiplied values of all these elements of my list. Now let's run this program. So right click, running the file, and we can see the output here. Total of all values after multiplication is 600. So this is the second approach, by using numpy package, which we have to install first, and then we have to import it, and we can simply use numpy.prod method, and we have to pass my list to that method, and it will multiply all the values from the list, and it will print the total, right? So this is the second approach. So we have seen two approach, so this is the second approach. So we have seen two approach. First one is for loop traversing, and another is by using numpy.prod method, by which we can simply multiply all the elements of the list, and we can print that total value. So thank you for watching. In the coming session we will see some more examples or more Python programs for practice. So thank you once again.